Hi, Professor. This is Tim Daho speaking, and this presentation is for AIT582 individual project. The topic is about application of metadata in complex big data problem. And let's start to introduce this project. For the outline, this presentation includes 6 sections. The first one is I create to talk about what problem is for this analytics, and then let's find topic is based on our project milestone. So for this project, the purpose is to identify the important factors which might influence the passenger successfully flying on the book trip. So we need to mark the successful because we have one attribute to describe the trip is successful or not. So next, let's talk about data acquisition and conversion. In the beginning, I will introduce what tools I use. I use Python and Jupyter. Also, in the predicting model, I use Weka to build a predictive model and to virtualize. In the beginning, we import the dataset, which is downloaded from the Blabber, and we use pandas library, and to import the JSON file, and then we to check the attribute order. I want to follow the project guide, so I change the column order to customer ID, success, description, seat class, guests, and fail. And then after changing the order, I want to export the CSV file, and I use the df.toCSV, and here we need to make sure we mark the header equal none and index equal none because the data already have the header and index. So next step is talk about metadata extraction and imputation. So now we import the CSV file again and to see to overview the data. So we use isNull function to check if any null value in this data. And actually, in the beginning, there is no null value. So this slide is introduced that I transfer the data type because the original customer ID, success, and seat class. These data are numeric data type, and based on the project guide, it should be customer ID should be string, and success should be boolean, and the seat class should be the category data type. This slide aims to extract the metadata from description attributes. And so in the beginning, I use string split function to pick the final content after the last semicolon. However, the new column still includes the null value after extracting. So I change this data into the numeric type first, and then I fill the null value to be the average of the edge column. And finally, I change the type to int data type. So we can see the first 5 records is only show like 22 years old or 38 years old. The second metadata we can extract is gender. So for the gender extraction, I also use string function to pick the content between the first comma and the first point, and then remove the space before the title. So you can see this code. And finally, I print the group by result to see how many different titles in this attribute. And then I use mapping function to map some, like the master should be male and the Mr. should be male and Mrs. should be female. So after that, some titles still cannot identify is male or female. So I decide to put a new value called unknown into the data. And finally, I change this data type to category. So the next step is to see the metadata exploration to see how many information from this data. So the left graph shows the success case. You can see most customer, their booked trip is failed. It means they are not finished their flight trip. Maybe about 550 customers. And the right graph shows most customers prefer to take the 3-class seat. So it's about 500 customers. The left graph shows about when a passenger takes a flight, how many people go with him or her. So you can see the result. Most passengers they take an individual flight trip, and more than 600 customers. Yes, and the right graph show the 800 data, more than 550 customers are male. This slide shows the distribution of the fare. Both graphs show the most customer their flight ticket fees are located between $5 to $10. Like you can see this and this point. Also, for the left graph, we can observe some data is some a little customer buy the tickets more than 500. This slide shows the distribution of the customer age. And for this slide, we can observe that the age between 25 to 30 has high customer, and also the age between 15 to 50, most customers are located in this area. After we finish the metadata exploration and we want to do some predict analysis. However, before predict analysis, we need to do some attribute preparation. So let's just think about what attribute we need to be analyzed. So this slide is talk about before we do predict analysis, we remove the description attributes because it is difficult to put into the analyze. And then I export the CSV file before import to Weka. And this step is to using the Weka ARFF function to transform the CSV file to .arff. And before export the .arff file, I rename the age and gender attribute. You can see the left graph. Before rename, the AM underline 1 and the AM underline 2 is age and gender. So I need to do this to be easy identify. After that, when we import the ARFF file into the Weka, and we need to change the data type because the system automatically to sync the seed class and the guest data are numeric data. So I need to use the filter function to find the numeric to nominal and to pick the second and the third attribute I want to do. This slide is to show after I using the select attributes and the result give me a suggestion to use the gender and the fair attribute. By the way, this attribute selection model also use cross validation with 10-fold cross validation. Now we want to build predicting model. So this slide is to introduce the result of building decision tree. Also is with 10-fold cross validation. And you can see the accuracy is 80.246%. And the tree graph also built like this one. And I will introduce more detail. You can see this graph. If the gender is female and the customer like to pick the 1 class or 2 class seat, the model predicts the passenger's trip will be successful. Also, the ROC curve of decision tree is created by like this graph. And this slide is introduced about building the random forest, and the accuracy is 81.257%. And by the way, this slide just to mention, use the virtualized threshold group to create the ROC curve graph. So this slide just to present the ROC curve of random forest.